You do know Donald Trump very well.
I know him very well.
When did you meet and when did you decide you liked him?
The first time we met was at Mar-a-Lago. And this was maybe about 10 years ago. It was before either of us got into the political arena. And we were just enjoying each other's company. And someone says, Rod Stewart just came in. He said, I don't care. This is Ben Carson. I knew what kind of person he was at that point. And, my whole family was with me, my mother. And, it was a Easter program. And he just made sure that we were comfortable and that we were taking care of him, especially wanted to make sure my mother was comfortable. And there were all kinds of celebrities and important people walking around. And he was just trying to make sure that we were comfortable. And that's the kind of person he is. I noticed, the workers, the people who serve the meals, the people who park the cars. He knows those people. Yeah, he knows their names. He knows their families. The same thing at Trump Towers when I went there. And he seems to be a genuinely caring person. It didn't take long before, he knew my family, knew their names. He's just that kind of person, as opposed to the very superficial politicians who are always playing to the cameras and couldn't care less about you once you got out of the camera range.
You've seen that too?
Oh, I've seen that many times. Absolutely.
But then you ran against each other in the Republican primaries, and it didn't seem to wreck your relationship.
No, well, we discovered pretty early on in the process that we were very compatible. And, I was not a person who really particularly wanted to be president. I ran because there was so much insistence that I run after I gave the presidential keynote for the presidential prayer breakfast. And I had over 500,000 petitions in my office. There were people every place I went with signs, run, Ben, run. And, I really didn't want to do it, but there was just so much pressure. I just said to the Lord, if you really want me to do this, you got to give me all the stuff a person who runs for president has, a Rolodex with all the important names, a lot of money, an organization. And I said, I don't have any of those things, nor do I intend to develop them. The next thing I knew, they were all there. And our organization was raising more money in a month than the RNC. It was incredible. But during the campaign, we talked, and I told him that God chose him, that he was going to win. There were a whole bunch of us running. I said, you're going to win because God is going to use you to help save our country. And he did.
How'd you foresee that?
Because I knew the kind of policies that he espoused and that those were the things that were needed to turn our country around. They were the same things that I was thinking about. The difference was he wanted to do it and I didn't. So that's why I endorsed him so quickly when I dropped out.
What did he say when you told him you believed God had chosen him to save the country? What was his response?
I don't remember his specific words, but he was kind of taken aback that I would say that. And he reminds me of that very frequently. And I think he's really thinking about it since the assassination attempt, recognizing that he's there for a specific reason. And, I had a hard time when I dropped out convincing my followers to go with him. I got a lot of calls, particularly from evangelical leaders, and I just said, no, don't be swayed by all the noise. Look at the policies that this man is putting forth, because we have to save our country. And think about all the people who preceded us and the sacrifices they made. We can't throw it all away. And we've got to be able to overlook some of the things that the media is going to try to focus you on. Those aren't the important things when it comes to a leader. And I explained to them that, this was a man who made his way in the real estate market in Manhattan, one of the toughest real estate markets anywhere in the world. I said, you're not going to be successful in that market unless you're very tough. And that means you may have some rough edges. And we just have to recognize that and be able to move beyond that and see that this is a man whose policies, do you agree with those policies or do you not? And several of the leaders then came and started thinking in a different way. And we had a big evangelical rally. At first it was going to be like 50 pastors. It ended up being 2,000. And at that time, I think he realized that, boy, this is an incredible block of people that we need to be working with.
So then you went to work in the administration.
Yes.
What was that like?
I had a very hard time in the beginning, obviously, because I didn't have a deputy secretary for 8 months. And I didn't have any assistant secretaries for 5 months because they were playing politics. Didn't want to give me the people, hoped that maybe I would go away. But of course, that just makes you more determined to stay.
Yes.
And once we got the right people in place, it was wonderful. We were very much aligned with the idea of getting rid of the regulations. When I was running for president, I talked about how that was the major cause of sluggish economy. We had so many regulations. We got rid of over 2,000 regulations at HUD, regulations and sub-regulations, which made it much easier to get things done. And of course, we had a situation, you always heard the stories about the malfeasance, the fiscal problems going on at HUD. You probably noticed a year and a half into the Trump administration, you never heard those stories anymore because we were able, with much cajoling and arm twisting, to get one of the former senior partners at Ernst & Young to come on and really to take on the whole HUD organization, which was difficult. He said in the beginning, he looked at the books and he said, Ernst & Young would never have taken you guys as a client.
No.
But
fearing criminal exposure.
Exactly. But it was fixed and probably is now the best run agency in Washington, D.C. I hope they haven't destroyed it all by now. But it made it much easier to get things done. It was easy to work with President Trump because he realized what we were doing, understood, the business of real estate, of housing, and was a tremendous partner in getting it done.
Would you go back into a second Trump administration?
Let me put it this way. I am fully dedicated to helping to save our country. And, there are a variety of ways that can be done. And I will be following the guidance from the good Lord in terms of which is the best way to do that.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.